This video is a quick overview of the Hanchu app and just wanted to show you a few points on the app. This is a relatively new install for us, so there isn't much data, but I can show you it's 9 o'clock in the morning in November and we're already producing 500 watts on the top here in the PV. You can see the PV's feeding into the inverter, and that is feeding into the battery, so we're actually charging the battery by 0.2 kilowatts at the moment. At the home we're using 0.3, so 300 watts, and so the rest of that solar is all going across to the home. At the moment we're pulling 0 from the grid. You can see the temperature outside, and it's also linked into the weather on the Hanchu app. Down from there we have some buttons for analysis, event and control. So analysis is really to look at how much PV you've generated, how much of that has been used by the house, and you can go back through the days and see exactly what's been generated. Again, we're in November, so quite low generation at the moment, but we expect that to cover the home no problem during the summer. On the right middle here you've got event, and that will show you if there's any errors or codes stored in the inverter or the BMS of the battery. And then you have control. Control is where you can do a few different things. So basic setup is things like your time, date, how much you're exporting back to the grid. Really important that we don't change this figure, as this will avoid us avoiding the DNO approval and the acceptance that we have. So if we're set to export to 7 kilowatts, for example, we have to put 7,000 in here to cover the 7 kilowatts so that we don't over export power back to the grid. You can power things on and off, and you can change passwords for the Wi-Fi if you ever change your router. But most of the settings that you'll need will be in energy setup. So you have different self-consumption work modes, and they are self-consumption, which is where you will use the PV to power the home first. You'll charge the battery second, and then you'll export back to the grid third. Backup energy mode is where you'll store battery into the system, and that can be used to power the home later on when energy maybe is more expensive. User defined, you can actually choose how you want that priority to work, and off-grid mode will essentially try its best to keep you off-grid and only use battery power and solar power. We recommend leaving this on self-consumption mode. It works really well, and it will help you to expand the life of the batteries and things like that. Maximum charge, state of charge, which is 100%. So if you wanted to only charge the batteries to say 90%, you can change this. Minimum discharge, SOC, so the minimum that this battery will go down to is 10%. We set this system to weather optimize, so you can charge the battery in advance overnight depending on the weather in the next day. So we've set it to charge between 2:30 AM and 4:30 AM, depending on how bad the sun and the clouds are. So you can see here it's picking out a level, and it will look at tomorrow's record and see whether or not it should charge. We've also got Octopus charging, and so we can put in your postcode and it will find your Octopus Agile tariff. Agile works on half-an-hour periods, so there are 2 ways that you can charge using this. One of them is to set how many half-hour periods that you'd like it to charge for, which would be a total, so 4 periods of charging would be a total of 2 hours of charging, and also how many periods of export you would like to do, so 2 half-hour periods of exporting back to the grid. And what it will do is it will choose the best 2 and the best 4 periods for that to happen. So it doesn't matter if the lowest point is 19p or minus 0.5p, it will charge on those lowest points. You can, however, change that to tariff, and what tariff does is lets you set the pence per kilowatt hour that you're happy to charge at. So we could, for example, change this to 7p, and what that would mean is then any time that the tariff goes below 7p, it will fill the battery up. Discharging price you could set to say 20p, and if there's ever a period in the day where the energy is being called for by Octopus and they're paying extra for that, what you could then do is you can set it so that it will export for a minimum charge. You can then choose whether you would like weather compensated charging or Octopus charging to be preferred, and we recommend doing this to Octopus if you're on Agile. You can also turn these off entirely, and then it won't charge the battery overnight, and we can set some manual charging slots as well. Function setup just has battery recovery for resetting things. Down below that, you've then got today's total of how much has been generated, how much has been sold to the grid, and also the day's rate of how much has come from green energy versus grid.